What's going on? Josh here from Polymathics, the YouTube channel that helps you become a modern day Renaissance man. And I'm over here walking around my beautiful apartment complex in Palm Beach Gardens. It's a wonderful day. I just finished filming a video about not fantasizing about your results before you even get them. But in this video, I want to rank kind of the order of importance when it comes to things that writers should focus on, particularly with fiction. And some of this applies to nonfiction, but so many times, and I was the same way, writers, you think, I want to become a writer, and you say, that seems like something I could do. I've always had enjoyed fiction and maybe even enjoyed writing fiction, and I maybe you even had a little bit of a talent with that in high school or whatever, and you want to explore that option because, hey, writing books for a living, being able to walk around your apartment during the day while everybody else is at work and writing and publishing from your own house, like, those things sound like pretty cool things, and getting royalty checks that just come in every month sounds like a pretty good rap. So we sit down and we say, okay, I'm gonna write. And then when you start writing, you realize, oh man, I may like this, but it's not as easy as I thought, and maybe I need to learn a couple things. Or maybe even worse, you say to yourself, I'm not a professional writer, so maybe I should read about being a professional writer. And then it sends you down this rabbit hole. And there are so many books on writing. And the unfortunate thing is that they're all categorized under like writing reference. So they don't even differentiate between commercial fiction writing and literature writing. And then even in the commercial fiction writing, they don't even differentiate between certain genres, right? And that causes big problems for writers, because then they get all of these ideas in their head about the way that a book should be. And the other problem is they may start with stuff that doesn't even matter. And I'll tell you, I was lucky. One of the first books that I bought on writing was about plot. And looking back years later, books later, and having published some books and stuff, like, I see that was actually a good thing, starting with plot. It's one of the key foundations of writing a book. But some of my secondary choices, like after that book, I think I bought a book on dialogue. I bought a book on character and setting. And listen, I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from those books. But again, sometimes they don't differentiate between literature writing and commercial fiction writing. The other thing is, just so that we're clear, there are some areas that overlap. It's not like if you do commercial fiction writing, it's completely different. But there are some areas where you might get advice from a literary writer that has no real bearing on your commercial fiction or your success in commercial fiction. And that's really the key. So right now, what I want to do is kind of lay out for you what I think looking at commercial fiction writing should be the priority for you to look into if you want to build those skills and develop them. Got a bug in my eye. To improve your writing and reach your full potential as a writer. The first key thing, I believe, and this is also, under the assumption that you know how to write in the language that you plan on publishing the book, and you understand grammar and spelling and things like that. Even those things, though, you could get an editor for if you really had a problem with. But the first thing would be, and this is gonna sound crazy, I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat for this, marketing. You gotta understand how to market to an audience. And the reason why I say that is because it's gonna play into everything else that your book is and does and is about. So if you don't know who your audience is, then it's going to be very hard to do these other foundational elements. By knowing who the audience is that you're going to market to, who you're trying to sell to. The second thing would be theme. If you don't have a foundational theme that you can base your story on, and preferably, especially if you're doing a long story or a screenplay, in commercial fiction you usually need to have an individual theme and then a societal theme. Those are foundational. This is what every other key element of the story sits on, okay? Your characters, the scenes, the dialogue, everything else. It all comes crumbling down if the foundation isn't solid, and that's your theme. After that, I would say plot, like how to conjoin major plot events. From that, then character, then from that, probably dialogue, and then everything else after that. I'm not saying it's not important, but those are really the big things that you want to hone in on, okay? And if you don't understand those, or if you go reading books that teach you about, past participle and writing emotions and all this other stuff, like, they're good to have and they help, but you have to be at a certain level to even be able to use those effectively. If you don't know who you're marketing to, if you don't know the theme of your book, if you don't have a plot set in place, and you don't know who the characters are in your book, like, it doesn't matter how well you depict their emotions in the scene or in your writing. It doesn't matter how good you are at the craft. None of that will matter, because you've already lost people. You've lost them at the premise, you lost them at the theme, you lost them in the first few sequences of the plot. Okay, so hopefully this helps, especially if you're a beginning writer, and even if you're not, like, those should be the priorities. Because even when you write your book, and yes, is it true that a good book will sell itself? Absolutely. But even once the book is written, if you don't know how to market it, it's not going anywhere. So those are key elements that you have to understand, and they all build upon each other. And they're going to help you create a product that people will want to buy, that people will be affected by if you've done it properly. Alright guys, this has been Josh from Polymathics. I hope this has been helpful. And if it has, go ahead and drop a comment below. If you totally disagree with me, then drop a comment as well. Alright, take it easy.